old home or parents' home that we inherited, and this is a special place because I was married here too. I'm a little thirsty, but I'm not sure. I'm unpasteurized goat milk thirsty. But tell us what we're seeing here. I think the folks at home know what we're seeing. We're seeing a goat milked. But if you come here to the village, is this one of the activities that folks would be able to watch?
Yeah, this is actually one of the activities that we offer to tourists when they come in school groups as an experiential activity. We'll let people try to milk the goat. The goat's smaller than a cow. We have cows here at Orwell, but the goat's a lot safer if it decides to kick when you're milking it. And
right.
This is showing visitors when they come. We're able to show them how milking was done before automated machines.
Yeah, I love milk, but you can see the goats, like every now and then the leg lifts and it's like, hold on. I used to teach classes when I was in grad school, and you'd take a look at the undergrads and say, look, there's 35 of you in the class. Here's how predestination works. You, sitting there, yeah? You could be the worst person in this room. You're going to heaven because you were picked before you were born. The rest of you can do all the good things you want. Tough luck for you. And they went, well, that's a terrible system. And I went, yes, that's why they came up with free will, because nobody wanted to be those 35 people over there. So yeah, theological weeds. Poor Jane's like, I can't believe she said yes. So, as if this is what he's talking about.
I am in no place to judge your wife.
No, that's true. No. So the whole trip through PEI, folks, has been the Paul is speechless trip. Every museum I go to, somebody's left me speechless. There you go. You've just left me speechless. My wife's going, I wish I could do that. So here we are with Kevin and Bruce in the blacksmith shop. Couple of things first, house cleaning items, folks. I'm not going to be allowed anywhere near any of this gear. The spirit of my dearly departed late father-in-law, Ivan Wood, who lived just down there. We used to come up here and help clear brush, and at the end, he wouldn't even let me do that anymore. So there will be no interactive display with Paul here, but Bruce is going to show us how the smith works and some of the things. But perhaps Bruce and Kevin, if you could just discuss a little bit about what the blacksmith was, how important he was to the community, and kind of what we're going to see here and how it worked, that'd be great.
Yeah, this type of shop, there used to be hundreds across PEI. Every rural community had one. I know that because of the great-grandchildren that have come to visit, and they always talk about their blacksmithing past. These shops really, if you had a farming community, you needed a blacksmith shop.
Right.
First and foremost was the making of horseshoes and doing the farrier work, which is taking care of the horses, shoes, and hoof.
So the blacksmith would make the horseshoes.
Yep.
But would the blacksmith also, it's always a question I've had, would the blacksmith also put the shoes on the horse, or was that a separate?
It was quite common.
Right.
Yeah, it's two separate trades, really, blacksmithing and farrieing.
So the farriering is the guy who puts them on.
Trims the horse's hoof,
right.
Checks it, cleans it, and puts the shoe on to make sure it's comfortable for the horse.
So would it be horses? And now, see, what do I know? Would they shoe cows too?
Oxes.
Right, because they would do farm.
They would do farm and a lot of work in the woods.
Right.
Because actually an ox's hoof is better suited for the woods than a horse's hoof.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
We were at New Ross last season, and we saw the oxen working in the field.
They're beautiful.
And and a little hard to control sometimes, even for guys who knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Teamsters, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, see, Learn and remember occasionally. So I always view this as a death trap. For somebody like me, these are all like dangerous. Well, maybe the vice not so much. But how would the process go? If you were, so I come in, Kevin and I come in, we just bought a new horse.
Yep.
We're brothers, we fight a lot, but here we are. And Kevin, would we be asking him for horseshoes, I guess?
Yeah, and every horse requires a different size shoe, just like human beings don't all wear the same shoes. So the blacksmith would be able to make different size shoes depending on the horse that come in.
Oh, it's a good thing Kevin's part of the family, because I never really would have thought of that. So,
And there's also shoes for the summer and shoes for the winter. The winter shoes have what you call a cork, and
Right.
that part will dig into the ice, and the horses can travel over ice. A lot of the traveling in the wintertime would be over the ice, because you'd go the shortest way, and a lot of times the shortest way was across water.
so they call it a quark?
A cork.
Oh, yeah. So Quark to me is the guy who ran the bar on Deep Space Nine. So you're probably getting the house, Kevin. I think Dad's going to give you the house, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Do they have a role for village idiot here? Bard, person who tells stories. I could do that. No? I'm getting the look that says no.
Yeah.
You might have to go to Charlottetown, Paul.
Oh, no, we have a gentleman that can tell quite a few stories.
Oh, well, I'll have to, hopefully he's near retirement. But telling stories, too, one of the things I do know about a blacksmith shop, and we were kind of joking about it before we began, it was the Tim Hortons of its day, or
Yes.
the coffee shop of its
Yes.
day, where people would come and, you know, if we were brothers, we might come in and tell you we need the shoes, and then, hey, let's just talk about
Yes.
what's going on.
Typically in those days, a lot of visiting went on between families. So the blacksmith was working, it was a warm spot, especially in the winter.
Right.
The local gentlemen would come, farmers and their wives may go up to the kitchens,
Okay.
as it was in those days. And the men would come in here and talk about politics. The blacksmith was considered knowledgeable about many things.
Right.
Blacksmiths were really some of the first vets. They knew a lot about horses.
Oh, right, vets. I thought you were like thinking vets from wars, but they were veterinarians, or
Not as we think of them today.
no, but knowledgeable about
Yes.
the animals and stuff.
Knowledgeable about animals, knowledgeable about metal, of course.
Right. So
And-
multitaskers. in many
Yes, they were
respects.
very handy people.
Yeah.
Really, they were the Mr. Fix-It of the area as well.
Right.
As the equipment got more complicated over time, a lot of it came to the blacksmith shop to be fixed.
So they wouldn't just be doing horseshoes and oxen shoes. They'd be
no.
doing like whatever you see here, all sorts of iron and metal.
Latches, items for the kitchens, items for the carpenters,
Right.
small anchors. We have
Oh.
one over there for the fishing, because here we have an industry in fishing, so they were busy doing things for the fishermen.
Right.
And it depended now in the bigger shops in PEI, like the CNR in Charlottetown, they had specialized blacksmiths for locomotive and car repairs.
Right.
Yeah.
But here you would have just been a general guy.
A general guy picked up the knowledge probably from his father, grandfather, or local kid that had an interest and kept
So would there be an apprenticeship process, or you wouldn't jump right into it and say, "Hi, I'm the new blacksmith," or
What happened is it's hire a lot of children to come down and turn this.
okay,
It blows air into the fire.
that sounds like a job I could handle. So we sort of think of things like, you know, I'm a lawyer by training, one of the things, and so you have to go to law school 3 years, you article, and then you write the bar exam, you're called to the bar. In Abraham Lincoln's time, you would just say, I'm just going to apprentice with this lawyer and learn a bit from him, and then I'm going to go off and do it on my own. And even further back, you know, there was that sort of apprenticeship or whatever they would call it. And so you would learn by watching. You'd be working, we'd be chatting, but then, you know, maybe we'd sit down, play a game of checkers because there's a checkerboard over there.
Yep.
Get the political gossip. It was
Absolutely.
the center of the community.
That was very important, the political gossip.
You realize there is a real craft skill to it. So I think sometimes we think of people from 100, 200 years ago as like, you know what, we're so modern and so we have all this technology and everything. Look at all the things we can do. And the truth is, I'm guessing 99.9% of us, not you two guys, but people like me, would have no idea how, we'd have to be taught. And even then we'd be like, holy cow, this is complicated. I just want to use my iPad.
Yes.
But these guys were skilled craftsmen.
Very skilled, they were very good at breaking things down,
Right.
taking them apart, finding out what the issue was, putting things back together.
Understanding how things worked.
Yes, you'll see this in a lot of island families, that the generations today are mechanics. Past generations in the same family line were blacksmiths,
Right.
just because they were very knacky around equipment and machinery.
Yeah, I mean, I joke. My father-in-law, just up the road, ran a motel for years. He built the cabins himself.
Yep.
He would fix the cabins, he'd fix the plumbing, he'd fix the shingling and everything, whatever. And they also ran the motel, so my mother-in-law would do the books and everything like that. So, he wasn't calling carpenters in, usually, unless it was, they could fix things
Yep.
that, I have a house, call a guy. Like, that's my thing is, just call a guy because I can't do it.
Yep.
So you really respect the knowledge that these people have of being able to do that kind of stuff. I wish I had it.
Yeah, they had to have the knowledge because not everybody had money to be able to afford to be able to simply pick up the phone
Right.
and hire somebody to do what
No.
they
Yes.
couldn't.
I don't either, but that's what credit cards are for, I guess. But yeah, there's a poetry to it in a way.
Yes, there is.
And I know that's not a word that people would associate. And maybe it's just the bagpipes that are making me feel romantic. But there is sort of a poetry to country life and to the past where people would come in here and you'd be working, we'd be chatting or fighting as brothers or whatever. But then, maybe we'd sit down, play a game of checkers because there's a checkerboard over there.
Yep.
Get the political gossip. It was
Absolutely.
the center of the community.
That was very important, the political gossip.
Right. Well, it's funny you're talking about Pictou coal. Well, there was just an election in Nova Scotia, and Pictou is now running the province. So Pictou coal. Yes, we're all in favor of Pictou coal.
So now I'm taking the iron, using the face of the anvil to flatten out a portion. There's a few tricks. What I'm trying to do is keep the face of my hammer clean. As I hit iron that's heated, scale comes off.
Okay.
I don't want to reinduce that into my metal.
Right.
So I try to keep my deck clean. This anvil has a beautiful bounce or ring. If you ever want to buy an anvil, do this. See that beautiful ring?
That's a good anvil.
That's a good anvil.
Okay.
Come over here. Not so good.
Oh, well, that would explain why you're over here and that one's over there. Now, you look like a lazy anvil. This one's doing all the hard work.
Yes, so if you ever want to buy one, that's the test.
Well, thanks very much, Bruce.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And I do have one more question.
Sure.
So, Kevin and I, we like your work. We're going to buy some stuff.
Yep.
Now, how would we have some chickens? Would we trade you chickens, or would we money, or how would they?
In this time period, very little cash in society.
Credit?
Barter.
Barter? Okay.
Not sure about credit.
Credit didn't work. All right. No credit. Fair enough. Probably for the best.
Chickens, potatoes.
Chickens? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, potatoes. That doesn't surprise me in the least.
Speaking of Nova Scotia, we used to trade a lot, bring coal to the island,
Okay.
and the ships going back would be taking turnips and potatoes and crops.
Well, and yeah, we're going back tonight on the ferry because I love the ferry.
Yep.
Ferry fries, just ferry fries and gravy. But it is right across the strait
Yep.
from Pictou, New Glasgow, Trenton, Westville, Stellarton, where the coal mining and everything. So that would make sense that it would be that cross-border straight trade.
And quite
coal
a bit
things over.
Quite a bit of trade up into Sydney as well,
Right. So coming down from Cape Breton.
from those steel mill.
Yep.
Yeah.
So trading in that eastern area of Nova Scotia with this part of Prince Edward Island, whereas if you're over on the Summerside area, the trade might be more with New Brunswick and that
Absolutely
sort of thing.
right, yes.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Bruce. This is going to look great in our home, Kevin. I think Mom's going to be happy. I don't really talk to Mom. Listen, after Kevin leaves, I'll fill you in on the details, Bruce. Yeah. And remember, vote for, well, whoever's going to win, frankly, because we need some money here in Orwell, so bring it on. But yeah, this is amazing, and really appreciate the demonstration.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And the mouse traps, they were practical. That one catches 6.
Really?
Really?
Right now, my wife is saying, Paul, I know they don't sell anything in that store, but can you pick one of those up? So here we are at the general store at the Orwell Corner Historic Village, and I've been told that this is where I'm going to get the scuttlebutt about the history of the place and everything, kind of the center of town. Everybody has to come in here
Right.
at some point to buy Rival Twist chewing tobacco, which apparently is the best chew.
It is the best chew, they say. I never chewed it.
That's what they say. I've never chewed it either, but I would choose it if I was actually chewing tobacco, I guess. And we're here with Jeannie, and you, for me, this is a trip down memory lane because, as I've already mentioned, I got married at the church just down there. My wife's family is just less than a mile away, I guess. Right. And you knew my father-in-law and my mother-in-law.
Very, very, very well.
Yeah, and their dog, Charlie.
And Charlie, yes. Everybody knew Charlie because he'd come visiting.
It's kind of like the littlest hobo sort of.
Yes, exactly.
Farm dogs back in the day, you certainly, you'd tie them up. He was tied up at night. He had a little dog house. But during the day, he would just wander off.
Exactly.
And I always wondered where he went.
He went to all the neighbors visiting and getting food.
Charlie was a combination, he got a lot of exercise.
Yes.
But he was a bit of a chubby little dog, too.
Yes, he was.
But
everybody loved him, that's why.
That's what I'm told. I loved him, too, although the first time I met him, I had never been to the house. And so Linda and I, when we first started dating, we've been dating for about 6 months, show up, Charlie comes out. I love dogs. He's a very friendly dog. Oh, he comes over. It's a hot summer day in August, like now, rolls over in his back, and I start scratching his tummy. And then I realize my pant leg is getting wet. And then I look down, and there's this stream of dog urine landing on my leg, which we couldn't get into the house because Ivan and Doris weren't home, and Linda didn't have keys. We were camping up in Cavendish. Long story short, I had to drive back to Cavendish because it was the only pair of pants I had, with Charlie having whizzed on my leg. And somewhere my wife is watching this right now and going, yes, I remember that. That was my dog. And I asked Ivan when I finally met him, and I was afraid he was going to come out he looked very serious when he came out, stern. He was just joking. I thought, oh, good God, what have I gotten myself into? And I said, so look, and he said, I hear Charlie had a little accident on your leg. And I went, yeah, he did. He said, he's only ever done that for one other person. And who's that? Well, Kim, and Kim is Linda's sister, the other daughter. Kim's boyfriend.
Oh,
and
Charlie was checking out the boyfriend.
Yes, marking his territory, as it were. And so we both wound up marrying the Wood sisters because we had Charlie's seal of approval.
Well, no, that was good. That's an Ivan story.
On our pant leg. That is definitely an Ivan story.
I've heard many Ivan stories in my life.
Yes, and he told many Ivan stories, too.
Yeah.
So, when you look around, you see violins over here, or sort of the bodies of violins.
Yes.
So you could get a little bit of everything. Practical stuff, but also stuff that you would use for entertainment.
And the mouse traps, they were practical.
Yeah,
That one catches 6.
Really?
Really?
Right now, my wife is saying, Paul, I know they don't sell anything in that store, but can you pick one of those up? Beg, barter, and steal if you have to, because we do.
No, they had a little bit, they tried to gauge to have everything that you might possibly need.
Right.
But they didn't get real expensive stuff.
So so you say it catches 6 mice at the same time? So is it the one with this with the 6 holes?
Yep. That's the one.
How do they catch the mice?
Well, they have to set that. They put a little, I guess, cheese in there.
Okay.
The first one is more fancy. That would go into your parlor.
Oh, right. That's the fancy mouse trap.
That fancy mouse trap. The other one is kind of just homemade.
Right. So, if the mice are in the parlor, it's like they're the upper class mice. Oh, hello. Well, at least I'm dying in the fancy
If the
mousetrap.
mice were in the parlor, I wouldn't be in the parlor.
No, yeah, neither would my wife, no matter how nice the parlor is. Well, thank you very much, Jeannie, for
And thank
taking
you.
us
I
through
enjoyed
this
our conversation.
walk back through time and also sharing some Charlie stories with me, or at least one of them. For me, it's why this place is so special, to be able to come back where my in-laws, I guess is the way to put it,
Yep.
but also where my wife grew up, probably walking many of the same roads that you would have.
Oh,
as
I'm
a
sure
child.
she did.
Yeah, she still hikes every day when she comes here up past McPhail's and takes that, but all the little trails and all the pathways that she knows.
She's always walking. I see her
Oh,
on the road.
see, I know I seem hard and sometimes cruel, folks, but I have a heart of gold. And when somebody tells me that they see my wife, the golden-haired Linda, walking down the road, yeah, it brings a
It always makes us happier because
tear to my eye.
it's kind of sad that Ivan and Doris aren't there, but when they're there, it makes it seem more like they're still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what museums are. Museums are memory. And
Exactly.
so even though I didn't live in a time when you had a six-prong mousetrap or rival twist chewing tobacco, I know folks who did.
Yes.
Or I knew folks who did. And so when you see things like that, or, you know, Ivan and Doris had china, and they would keep the good china aside.
Oh, yes.
It takes you back and it brings them, that's what museums do. They trigger fond memories, usually
For a
fond
lot
memories.
of people.
Yeah.
I've had people in here with tears coming out of their eyes because they're thinking some object reminds them of their mother, and they just, boom.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And then they'll say, I'm sorry, and I said, quite all right. It happens a lot.
So that's it for our trip to the Orwell Corner Historic Village. And it's been the most special sort of museum. I love them all, but for me, this is what museums really are. This encapsulated it, because museums are memory. And it's usually not our own memories, but here, for me, because I got married right back there, because my wife's family is so intrinsically involved in here, and she grew up just a mile down the road, this place is special to me. So you can go to a museum like this that might be special to you in particular, or your family, but even if you're going to a museum that's far from where your family grew up or doesn't have a specific resonance to you in terms of your family connections or your life, you're going to find things, as Jeannie pointed out in the store, in that museum that are going to jog a piece of your memory, that are going to bring tears to your eyes, or a fond memory of your father, your mother, or your brother, sister, friends, or whatever, your own life. Or, if nothing else, a glimpse of how the folks lived in the past, which helps inform us of how we live in the present. And then together, as the horses come on down, we can figure out where we're going in the future. And that's really what museums to me are all about. So, special journey here today, almost coming home for me in a way, to Orwell Corner Historic Village, a place where I have fond memories of family and friends and good times. And that's the kind of stuff that you get when you come to places like this. So that's it for the third season of Maritime Museums. I saved not the best to all the museums. They were absolutely fantastic. But for me, this is the one that just sort of, I knew I was coming here, and not disappointed. Thanks to Kevin and Jaden and Bruce and Jeannie and everybody else who was so helpful for us here today. And I recommend every museum. But if you want to get a little piece of what it's like, and you probably don't, but to be Paul Kimball, come here and you'll see and feel what I experienced, what I love so much. In particular, my wife, who's from just over there. But that's what Maritime Museums is all about. We'll be back for the fourth season with all new adventures and all new museums. So thanks very much, folks, for watching, and thanks to Orwell Corner Historic Village for having us here today. And for me, the last 30 years of my life.